Okay, thank you for joining us tonight. It's March 8th, 2022, and we're here to interview candidates for the city council vacancy for the city of Nisswa. We have one candidate that filled out an application, Jesse's on, and I will turn it over to the city administrator.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Good evening, members of the council. As Mayor Ryan noted, we received one letter of interest for a council vacancy. And so Mr. Zahn is here tonight. I have provided the list of interview questions that we used the last time we filled a council vacancy for the council. So you have something to make notes on if you'd like. But my suggestion is I will ask the questions to our candidate. He can answer, provide some information. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to ask them as well, but we'll just go through. We only have 4 questions, so it's a pretty simple process. But to start off, if we're good, Mayor Ryan, with that process?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
Great. I would invite Mr. Zahn to come sit at the front, and maybe you can just do a little intro of yourself, just history, background, everything would be wonderful. Welcome.
Is the mic on up there?
It is on.
Will you put that?
Councilman, thank you, Jenny. Again, as I alluded when I walked in the room, thank you for rescheduling. I do appreciate it. It is not going to be a habit, I promise you that. But my name is Jesse Zahn. I am a Nisswa resident. I've lived here my entire life. I had gone to college for 4 years and also worked on the road constructing now what I own construction company here in the Lakes area for 3 years. So I had moved back to the area in 2016 and I have lived here since. I did live in Lakeshore for about a 2.5-year stint, and now I live back down Tall Timbers in Nisswa. So a little backstory about myself so you guys can understand myself and my experience, a little history about me. I went to college at the University of North Dakota for business administration. Go Sioux.
That's cool.
And I did take a leave from there to go to the University of St. Thomas. And then I went back to the University of North Dakota, studied business throughout. Right at the tail end of my 4-year college tenure, based off transferring, I would have had to have stayed in Grand Forks for another year. At that point in time, our family's business, my father had called me to come home and work and be in the family business. The opportunity presented itself where I would have gained an extra year of experience or stayed and endured another North Dakota winter for my college degree. It was a decision made at the time, and I do not regret. The experience has played off, and now where I'm at in our business exponentially. Our company, our family business, has been here since 1977. It is called National Conductor. Since then, we have grown into another handful of businesses that service our 2 main construction companies, with the other being Conductor Power. That is the company in which I'm vice president of. These 2 businesses, along with other slate of businesses that we have, I am now co-owner along with my brother and my mother due to the passing of my father in late September of 21. With that and that experience that I've had since I've been in the business since 2015, I believe has given me a good understanding of today's world. Today's understandings sometimes can be construed based off media or based off news or many varying opinions that we are definitely presented with this in this climate. However, I have been raised by my father and my mother to have a level head and to understand situations as they come to be. In our industry, we build high voltage substations. Substations are an essential part of the transmission and distribution system. They are as crucial to the T&D grid as a stoplight is to a road. And our product is primarily marketed to sometimes cities such as yourselves, City of Brainerd, Minneapolis. We do work across the United States. I wish I could proudly say that we built a substation for the city of Nisswa, but we have never built a substation for the city of Nisswa. We have at times been contracted or been offered, excuse me, I should say, projects with Crow Wing County and Brainerd primarily. There is no conflict of interest in regards to our family's business. Any interest that we would have to have me be a part of your council. But going back to the experience that I've gained based off of my involvement in our family's business, it has been exponential with whom I've met, with the clientele that we work for, and the amount of information that we have to process on a daily basis. A lot of our contracts are in the range of multi-million dollars. We deal with a multitude of employees, excess of 100, and we have ambitions to grow greater than that. With that, much of that experience has definitely presented me with individuals that have certain issues and concerns, and again, that level-headed approach to things and common sense approach has made me very sympathetic to everybody's issues as they come to be, no matter too big or too small. And I believe that I've been able to handle every situation that's come my way adequately. I have started to attend many city council meetings here since I want to say August of 21, and I did miss one, the one where I was appointed to Planning and Zoning Committee, and I've been on that, I believe, since November of 21. That experience from sitting here listening to originally U5 and the few meetings I've had with Planning and Zoning has been instrumental. Councilman Jacobson was actually the one that caught my attention the most when I was here for the first meeting of all. And he actually had made a statement that I think I'm going to hold true my entire life, or the rest of my life, excuse me. He stated that he thought, and this is a comment based off of no interest for Planning and Zoning Committee, that younger people perhaps do not want to get involved in local government. Now, I'm not going to say I disagree, but I'm here to prove that he's not exactly right. And I'm hoping to at least take my 29 years of experience of life and the business experience that I've had practically and just as a citizen of Nisswa to good use with you all. So that's my introduction on myself.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jesse. Our first question that we have for you tonight is, why is serving on the City of Nisswa City Council important to you? Does your interest stem from a personal interest or goal?
I think I alluded to it earlier. I do have a personal interest, and the personal interest is to gain experience in local government and try to understand the ebbs and flows of how you operate, how the city operates, understanding the budgets, issues that come to be. I have learned a sincere amount of knowledge after just the few select meetings I've sat here and observed all of you go about many wide variety issues. Serving on this council would be an honor for me, not only just being from here, but to be able to put any experience I've had in my life to good use for the betterment of the city.
Perfect, thank you. Our next question, how would you describe your leadership style and how do you believe it would benefit the city council?
Leadership style was something that my father taught, not just my brother and I, but almost everybody in his life firsthand. Firsthand leadership is being in front of the charge, is leading by example, being the one that reports early, turns the pot of coffee on, has the lights on at the office, is the last one there, works the hardest and understands what it takes to get the job done. I believe that leading by example and being true to your word is probably how I would define being an individual leader. Being a leader for a city, it would be, again, being true to my word and following through with anything that I had perhaps asked questions, raised concerns on, and followed through and try to do the best in the best interest of the city of Nisswa. Benefiting the city council, it would be More in part, I think back to a couple of issues that were presented to this council during those few meetings, firefighter issues to sometimes increasing budgets. It would be try to apply the understanding of business that I have and the understanding of operating within certain parameters that are in the greater interest of the city, just as I operate in the greater interest of our family's business.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions at this point? We're good? Okay, perfect. Third question, if you heard about something that concerns you in the city as a council member, what steps would you take to see that this concern is resolved?
I think that's a very interesting question because primarily I do believe that it is your functions to understand and listen to all those that bring issues, again, greater, large or small issues, and listen to them with open ears, being sympathetic to each individual person, whether it is a major issue or not. It is important to let them know that they do have an ear to be heard and they do have a voice. Each individual in the city does have an obligation to raise concern, and as I do believe that the council also has that obligation to hear it. And again, no matter is too small or too big, but the approach should be the same.
On the second part of that question, what steps would you take to see this concern resolved? That you would listen and you explain that, but what do you think and I understand that's a loaded question because it depends on what it is, but given what you've kind of heard here, at meetings and stuff, if a person came to you with a problem that we've dealt with here.
Correct. Macro problems, micro problems, it is still a problem. We understand that. But sometimes difficult decisions have to be made for the greater good of this community. But I would like to at least have exhausted every avenue possible and have every ounce of information presented to me prior to making that decision. And I think it would be my obligation, if I was to be a councilman, would be to explain that in the best way possible so everybody understands the circumstances surrounding my personal decision as a council member. Definitely input, and an example in here with the firefighter fund issue, there was obviously a great concern from that group of individuals, and I felt as if perhaps they did not take the proper steps, and they acknowledge that based off of not answering the questions that you had presented to them. And with that was a cause for concern just from the get-go. But understanding that there are broader implications to certain decisions being made, you still need to have at least a good explanation for each decision that is made, I would believe.
Thank you.
If the city could make one change or improvement, what would that change or improvement be?
Well, I think this is a pretty dang good city, and I honestly don't have an immediate recommendation that I would make that the city could change. I have traveled the United States. I've been around a lot. I've seen many places that are far less fortunate than we are here, and I am very thankful to be able to call this my home. I think we're all blessed to be able to have the infrastructure that we have here, the good citizens, the honestly good leadership that has been here in place in the city and that will continue to be hopefully here in the city. And as challenges come up, I believe that they will be met head on. So I don't have any recommendations at this moment.
Just a technical question before I open up to the council, just ensuring that you know that our regular council meetings are the third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. and there's no conflicts as far as that goes.
No, ma'am.
Or other potential committee or commission meetings as required, usually scheduled in advance and all of that as well.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mayor Ryan, I'll turn it over to you for if there's any other council questions or feedback and or a motion.
Okay, thank you. Don, do you have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I have about 3 of them. First of all, older people don't want to get involved in government too, we find sometimes.
Is that a question?
No, that's a
There's a
statement
question
of
in there.
fact. What do you believe is the most important quality a city council person should have?
I would have to say it's the ability to put themselves in the other person's situation, to be sympathetic to what that other individual might be going through. Any issue that comes forward to the city should be considered incredibly important. But to be a city council member and to don that title and the responsibility of it, it's not only an honor for those that you're representing in this city, it would be for essentially the greater good of other lives that you're impacting. And I would have to say, word-wise, being very sympathetic.
Okay. If as a city council person, your city had a surplus, something like what the state of Minnesota has now, how would you spend the money?
Well, the state of Minnesota surplus is definitely one that would raise eyebrows, but in contrast, I think that there are small improvements that could definitely be considered for the city of Nisswa if it was ever deemed so. I would definitely reflect back on the increase of the budget from the year prior and the reason for the increase. Understanding the increase from 20 to 21, I think it was justifiable. We're in a very unique period as a global economy, yet alone just for our state here in Minnesota. I would definitely consider how the budget was raised originally, but if there were surplus funds, then special projects or considerations could be made that would further improve the city.
Cities work and operate off of ordinances. You can't think of every situation that an ordinance would, how an ordinance would apply to an issue, but I guess I'm asking the question, would you consider yourself a person who would be very strict in following the ordinances right down the line, or the ordinances have a little opportunity back and forth to show a little, well, I'm getting myself
Tolerance.
confused, so I'm confusing you. Would you consider yourself to be a strict person going by the ordinances, or do you think there should be a little wiggle room for council people on issues?
Sure. No, I understand your question entirely. I would say with the few handful of meetings that I've been afforded so far with planning and zoning, we're almost in the business to provide variances at times, and that is in strict contingence with all ordinance that are in place for the city, established and followed. As an individual, I like to see change, but I like to see good change and modest change. Modest change that comes with careful consideration. And we are a small city, yes, but that does not mean that there are small changes or large changes that should just be discarded simply because we are a small city. And I like to hear both sides, and if it is reasonable, definitely worth consideration. But to answer your question, I would say on a case by case.
Yeah, I was just curious. What we do here is always in the public.
Yes.
And sometimes the issues can become very contentious, especially with people not happy with what's going on. What do you feel is the most important thing to do when things become contentious like that?
Definitely keep calm. Definitely keep calm and understand that they, in that exact moment, may overreact or have an outburst. And it is your duty, as potentially my duty, to listen and understand to the best of my knowledge. So if the decision that I personally would have would contradict what their opinion would be or their stated claim would be, then they should be able to understand it to the best that I can explain it, which I would hope is very adequate. Thorough research into a topic or an ordinance or any specific case that would come up. Information is incredibly powerful, and understanding each side before presenting a case is important as well, but the law is law, and I believe that it ultimately must be followed. So, and when it comes to contention and being uncomfortable based off of an unfavorable result for the public or a certain audience, I get dealt uncomfortable favors all the time. And whenever we do not get a project or we are denied, it's something I've become accustomed to. When you're a business owner, you're not making everybody happy all the time.
Yeah, and exactly. And also, I just didn't catch, you mentioned you're vice president of what?
Conductor power.
Conductor power. And what do you do as a vice president?
I oversee essentially the overall operation of the company, from project management, estimating, marketing, basic operation of the company to business development. And
Okay.
we're a smaller family business, but we all tend to wear a lot of hats.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of comments on my philosophy with my eye-opening philosophy. So someone recently said that we are a small city with big city issues, which is kind of true. Small in population, but with the expansion and development, there's a lot of big city issues that most small cities don't see.
Sure.
Also, like today, I had a constituent call me, had a situation, and I know I can't solve it. So generally when they call me, I talk to them, listen to them, and then I relay the information like I did today to Jenny, and then she got that out to the department head to do it, because I'm not a micromanager. She's the captain of the ship, as I always say. So that's her position. That's where she's at. That's how I handle it. And like I said, just get ready to read. If I have any questions, like I think Mayor Ryan said, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll come into Jenny before the city council meeting and ask her my questions. Sometimes she reins me in on how I might word a question.
Sure.
And then working with Amber Moon with the Parks and Rec, I always get the packet, I read it, and I do come in to see if I'm following, if we're on the same page. And the other thing too is my assumption is that, well, you'll be giving, if you are with the council, you'll be giving up your position with P&Z. And I don't know if that might be, Mayor Ryan might approach you for the possibility of liaison with P&Z, but there's a lot of stuff that has to go on behind that. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I have nothing. You've done a very good job explaining it. I had a couple questions, but you answered them in your explanations. And then Don stole one.
I didn't steal anything. I have one final one.
Yes, sir.
From your observations of the city council and the planning and zoning commission over the last, say, 3 or 4 months as you were watching us, is there anything that you saw that you think we could change and do better?
Well, I I think that alludes to question number 4, if I would have any changes or improvements. Strictly to the council, rather than the city in that question. I don't have any immediate recommendations. I simply came in here as an observer and to listen, to learn, understand how you, all 5 of you, were taking questions from the public, were speaking to one another in order, Robert rules. And it was incredibly beneficial. I don't know if I'm exactly in the position to offer recommendations, more so than just say I was very proud. And the word impressed goes along with the word proud, but proud of the individuals that were voted to this council, and it garnered my interest to come back time and time again.
Okay. Anything else, Don? Okay. Okay. Well, I will entertain a motion if anyone would like to make.
I would like to make a motion, I believe, then that we accept Jesse Zahn as, and vote him into the city council to fill out the term.
Well,
How do I say that?
So it'd be for fill the vacancy on the city
To fill the
council
Vacancy, yes,
for until December 31st, 2022.
right. Ditto.
would he be on the ballot
Special election.
for November?
There will be a special election, a short term, council member term
Correct.
on the ballot. So Mr. Zahn can apply to be on the ballot, just like all of you did for filing for election. So he can choose which position he would like to
Okay.
file for at that, in this next summer when that filing opens.
Okay. So we have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any further discussion from the council? Don?
No, good luck.
Mhm, mhm.
No other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody. Thank you. We'll stand adjourned.
Thank you.